And these companies are doing well, very well in terms of the compliances, especially the compliances to all the statutory compliances and the environmental related compliances and other things. And especially our organization main motto is to grab the business of the Europe countries, because Europe countries, the buyers, they have very stringent rules on the lot of compliances, especially the environment compliances, and the way we use the chemicals, and the water treatments, and the many other compliances, whatever for the industry and units is required. That is actually, that is one of the main, the motto of the organization to buy the Europe countries buyers. So obviously our company is involved and maintaining the good levels of the compliance in terms of the compliances related to the employees and the environmental industries, everything with us. So I think this is in a first session for me to hear this kind of the topic. Actually, the most of the times, okay, we are very mechanically, we are changing the paper, filling the papers, and exchanging with the government organizations. We are rushing, and most of my team members are the trying to satisfy the Europe buyers whenever they visit. And most of our the factories, we have 21 units. I'm very happy to proud to share that, and all the 21 factories are the qualified for the Europe compliances.
Wow.
That is the reason we our main client base is Adidas, Nike, Puma, and many like H&M. The many Europe brands are with us. We are almost since long time we are serving them. And during this pandemic time also, in a month of May, and we got the government of India has given a PPT projects to us. Actually, that is because of that reason, as an industry we are sustained, and we are good paymaster for all the workers, and we are, that is boosted us to the contribute more for the compliance side and all those things. I believe because we got this opportunity, even we got the orders from the US and other Europe countries, only because of our level of the compliances which we maintain at units. I think it's a lot of revenue generated for us in this situation.
I think so. One of the things I've realized over time is ethical business is good business as a practice, and
Definitely.
in the long run, it's very important.
Yeah, I'll add here. Recently, actually, we are signed the documents with a few of the buyers, saying compulsory usage of the organics cotton. Okay, how big challenge for us, actually. The organic cotton usage.
Yes. So absolutely, I think one of the big reasons we wanted to do this dialogue with industry was because we see sometimes industry, and we just stereotypically say they are the polluters. But in my own interaction with so many industrial people, I mean, they're the same human beings who are switching between industry to social sector to governance. So it's not like everyone's a villain in this process. I believe that a lot of constructive engagement between civil society, between corporate houses, young people and government is the only way that this climate situation can be managed, sustainability can be managed, because it's a everyday problem. It's not something that can be achieved as a target on one particular day. So, sir, we have a very interesting, thank you for joining us, Ravindra ji, and quite excited to hear from you in the coming discussion. We are also joined by Dr. Idris Tabassum, another, like, our partner mentor from Afghanistan. He's the academic vice chancellor at the Taj University in Mazar-e Sharif city in Afghanistan. And then we are also joined in by our keynote speaker, Louise. Louise, do you want to say hi to us, do a sound check? And Idris ji?
Hi everyone. Yeah, hello to all. Mr. Keshav Gupta, hello, how are you? And to all the panelists, dear speakers from all around the world. It's nice hearing from them and having the different perspectives together right here away. then it's really nice to have the world sounds together with me right now.
Thank you so much, sir. I think from New York, and let me get that sound resonated from the Western Hemisphere as well. Now, Luis, how are you? I can't see you for some reason. One second.
Oh, you don't see me? You hear me?
Yes. I can. Hi, how are you? Early morning for you. Good morning.
Good morning, but does everyone hear me well? And do you see me?
You could be a little louder, Louise, still if possible.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try this.
Yeah. In the meantime, let me introduce all of you again. You already know Sugyata, our dialogues convener for the industry dialogues and the moderator for today. Uh, and Sugyata and I know each other from quite long back now.
Does everyone hear me better now?
Absolutely. This is beautiful, crystal clear.
Okay, perfect. And do you see me too?
Yes.
Okay.
How are you, Louise?
I am very well. Thank you so much for inviting me here. I feel honored to be a part of this. Really, I'm super excited, and I am so excited also to hear everyone. And yeah, so it's gonna be fun and interesting. And I think that I have to say that I'm so impressed about everything that you guys are doing. Yeah. So can you brief me a little bit, just short, of the schedule and what's...
Yes. That's why now I'm handing over the floor also to Sugyata, our convener and our moderator. Sugyata is a lawyer based in Mumbai, India, and she works in different fields of law. I don't want to restrict her practice by saying one particular field, but Sugyata is a very passionate lawyer who and we have known each other for a while. This is the very important context I wanted to give to all of you. And one of the days during COVID, Sugyata called me and she said, I want to do something for the environment. What can I do? And that is how the industry dialogues were really born. When I said, oh, we have a global program that's going on which looks at dialogues, so why don't, since you work in this space, why don't we analyze everything, the intersections from an industrial perspective as well? So Sugyata is one of those people who truly got inspired to really take action during the COVID pandemic, which for me really resonates with the spirit of resilience, with the spirit of hope, and with the spirit of really helping others through giving your own efforts. So with that, Sugyata, would you like to take the floor and take our dialogues forward, please?
Yeah. Thank you, Keshav, for that. I'm really sorry. I was trying to fix a technical error in my laptop and I still haven't been able to do that. So I'm joining from my phone. So hello and a very good evening to everyone in India, and greetings of the day to Louise and Ms. Edri's Day. Thank you so much for joining us on the Global Industry Dialogues 2020. I am the convener and moderator for these dialogues. Keshav has already given a brief introduction for me, so I won't waste much time on that. So quickly, just to make sure, am I audible? Keshav, am I audible? Yeah.
Yes, Sugyata.
Okay. So, so like you all know, the topic for today is industry and climate change. Climate change is something that is very close to my heart, like Keshav already said. And I think today it's one of the most important and most urgent need for the world to address, and there's something that we must be aware of. We must take action to make it correct, and there is, if you ask me, the topic for today is, are we anywhere near our goals? Honestly, I don't think we even have a goal right now for saving the planet. I mean, most of the actions that were required to be taken under the Paris Agreement, we have to limit uh, the rising temperatures below 2 degrees, and we are clearly not even anywhere near that. And we're going to hit 3 degrees very soon. So, I mean, I'm sure we have a lot to hear from our stellar panel, which is here with us today, and of course our keynote speaker. So without wasting much time, I would like to now first set a few ground rules for the dialogue. Anybody who's not speaking must kindly keep themselves on mute. If there's anything that you would like to say, you can leave a message in the chat box or use the raise hand feature in Zoom. Any derogatory remarks will not be entertained, and I wish you all can, if you wish to speak anything, you may kindly note it down separately, and we'll have a section for the audience questions in the last 20 minutes of the dialogue, where the audience can raise their questions and their doubts to the speakers. So without wasting much time, I would like to now introduce our keynote speaker for this dialogue. Her name is Ms. Louise Zetterstrom. I'm sorry if I pronounced it incorrectly. Louise, we are absolutely privileged to have you here with us today, and thank you so much for making it on such a short notice. Louise she is born and raised in Stockholm, Sweden, and she's the CEO and co-founder of New and Partners and the Culture Physics organization. She has been building brands and creating meaningful campaigns, and that's something that she's very passionate about. Her extensive work experience working with celebrities surrounding the globe has given her a strong network and key insight into how to manage and utilize their platforms for a higher purpose, which is something that's very interesting. She recently hosted and produced a 4-hour live stream gala in collaboration with the United Nations UN 75 campaign, and launched her podcast Money for the People together with the cryptocurrency company Safelo. Having witnessed the fashion industry's dependence on petroleum and the industry's lack of accountability for their contamination of water, air, and soil, Louise was inspired to create a climate solutions gala in partnership with the Frost Museum of Science. Louise, we are so happy to have you here, and please go ahead with your.
Wow, thank you so much for such a beautiful presentation. I'm so happy and so honored to be here, really. First, I just want to say I've been seeing what you guys are doing, and I'm super impressed, and this is exactly what we need. This is exactly what we are working for too. We need to spread the word. We need to start the dialogue, the different dialogues actually, because there's so many different things that is happening that needs to be taken care of. So yeah, so to just, I mean, you basically said everything about me and my background. So, and I have many years experience from the fashion industry, but also advertising industry. And I'm working with a lot of celebrities, and also my husband has been working with a lot of celebrities since the late 80s. So we have really seen the powerful platforms that they have. And we felt like we need to do something about that. How can we monetize the celebrities' platforms into the climate issues and also different issues that's happening around the world? So that's basically what we have been working with lately, these 2 years, very hard. And we see it's very interesting though, because we see a lot of lack of information. And that requires, when it comes to organizations such as United Nations and different organizations. So we need to build a bridge between there, and that's what we are trying to do. Because all the scientists are doing an amazing job, but they're also, UN, such as so many other great organizations and scientists are dealing with very complex challenges. And it's kind of hard for them to translate to people all over the world. They're kind of using their own language, which we all understand. But, for people that is not working with these type of challenges, or that is not used to the language that the scientists are using, it's kind of hard for them to really understand. And when it comes to the global issue, we are seeing such a huge issue that everyone needs to take serious. But how can you take something serious if it doesn't come to your table? If it's only in the rooms where the United Nations are handling, or the scientists' rooms? So how can we bring this issue, and not just the issue, but mostly the solutions? How can we bring the solutions out to the people? What can they do? So what I mostly want to talk about is how we can help each other to educate not just the people, but mostly the corporations, because the corporations are a huge problem. And especially in the fashion industry, and we are seeing tremendous change just this year with COVID-19, but we need more. It's not enough. And also when it comes to the organizations, the great job that they're doing, we need to educate the organizations that is actually doing a great job. How can they have programs? They need to start programs into engaging people all over the world. So that is something that I really hope that we need to lift up more and talk about. And I think that we need also, like, something that is like deeply concerned is that we know that most organizations, they don't have that much revenue. There's kind of tight budgets, etc. But I really have been seeing lately that they can do so much better with their money. They need the knowledge of how they can really engage celebrities, but also influencer. Like, we are in such a tremendous change right now. When it comes to social media, it's so easy to use social media, and it's so easy to spread your opinion. So that's what we're doing, and that's what I would love. So if there is any organizations or anything that would have more information about how you can create these type of programs that we do, I would love to share that and help, because I really think that more corporations and organizations can adopt to these type of programs, how to use influencers and how to use celebrities. And it's not, I'm not going to say that it's just organizations and corporations that needs to change. It's also the celebrities. So what we've been seeing is lack of information there too. And it's so sad, because when you sit in a position like I do, and you talk to both parties, you can really see that people want to do something, but they don't know how, and they don't know where they're even going to start. So, for example, what we have done is that the most important part of, for example, when it comes to celebrities, is that they need to know that they have the power. So one thing that we are working a lot with is that we're doing collaborations between celebrities and larger international corporations. And I can see kind of like people are scared of, they just, even if they are huge A-level celebrities, they don't speak up, and they just take the deal, and they do this sneaker deal, and they just release it, but they don't really talk about what is your opinion. So what we have been seeing lately and what we are doing is that we are informing the celebrities of that you actually can come with demands because you are the power. The corporations are not the power. The corporations need you as a celebrity to sell more products. So if you as a celebrity stop right there and say, no, I need you to change. I'm only going to do this collaboration if you change this, this, and that. And I think that if a lot of people and celebrities and influencers come together and do that, which we actually see more and more, I think we can put a lot of pressures on the corporations to really make a change, which is important. And also when it comes to organizations, as I brought up from the beginning, it's so important that they really use their platforms and translate. Well, actually let other people translate for them. Because we have, it's so interesting because I've been seeing lately when I've been working with the United Nations, they're saying that they want to rebrand themselves. They want to really reach out there. But it's kind of hard to, and I would say it's kind of insane also to just do the same thing and then expect another result. So that's not going to happen. So for you to really reach out to the streets and really reach out to people all over the world, which you really can do now with social media, you need to change the speakers. I mean, I really honor United Nations, and now I'm just taking them as an example because I'm working with them now with the UN 75 campaign. And that is a really good example, actually, the UN 75 campaign. They're letting people speak up. They're letting people create their own programs and really engage their communities, which is very beautiful, and we need more of that. And I think that in each country, for example, what we've been doing is that we've been looking into different people that has a huge reach. And then we bring them in and we give them knowledge about these scientists, what they're saying. And it is such a different of the communication. When the scientists are speaking out to the people, they're not reaching the same reach as an influencer or a celebrity or the youth are doing. You gotta speak the same language. And what I mean with the same language, it doesn't mean you speak English and another person speak English. I mean, you gotta communicate in right words, and the person that is speaking needs to, the people needs to identify themselves with that person. So this is what we are working with, and I'm very passionate about this, and we are seeing a huge difference already just in 2 years. And I really hope that more organizations and scientists are going to sign up for our programs that we have on culturephysics.org, but also new partners, so we can just continue with this bridge and the bridge between organizations and scientists out to the people, because there is no time at all to wait, especially not with the climate issue. The people need to know, and the people has the power. They really do. And if we all come together, we can see that too. And I really think that the key is not that the corporations work for themselves, organizations work for themselves, and then people for themselves. The whole concept here is that everyone needs to collaborate. And that is what I think is the key. So, yeah, I mean, I can go on and on of like how, I don't know how much time I have though, but there's a lot of things we can do with just the bridge. But the main thing is that the bridge, it's super important. Yeah.
Thank you, Louise, for that insight. I think that these were some really important points that you brought forward, especially how we can tap into the potential of the celebrities, and how industry and how as a community we can make use of certain untapped possibilities in this space, especially to benefit climate change and other social causes. So thank you, Louise, for that. It was wonderful hearing from you, and
Thank
we hope to hear more from you even on the as we discuss as our panel discusses this topic. So without much ado, I would now proceed to just set out a theme for our panel discussion. So our panelists are mainly the theme that like the broader topic is industry and climate change. But the finer points that we'll be discussing in the panel is firstly in the wake of COVID and the current economic crisis that we are facing as a world. How is the industry going to balance the economic downturn with sustainable growth, with development, and without compromising on climate change and global warming? We will also hear the panelists speak about climate consciousness and how and whether we as a community are anywhere near climate consciousness. We will also be hearing about any key challenges that the industry is facing today, the steps and the positive actions that the industry has taken up till now to work towards climate change, and also any legal policies, and from the law and policy front, if there is anything that the industry that the industry suggests that the world can do in order to avert this crisis. So with that, I would like to introduce our first speaker for the panel, who is Mr. Ramnath Vaidyanathan. Mr. Ramnath heads the environmental sustainability for Godrej Industries and associate companies, and is responsible for driving the group's green strategy. He aims to achieve carbon neutrality, water positivity, and zero waste to landfill. Mr. Ram has 12 years of experience in the environment, energy, and water management across wide range of roles, from regulatory to process engineering, operations, strategy, advisory, business development, management, etc. He was CEO of Wish Energy Solutions earlier, and he also was a consultant at Enzen's Clean Energy and Environment Practice, where he was instrumental in implementing energy optimization projects in the UK. It will be great to hear from you, Mr. Ramnath. Welcome to the Global Industry Dialogues, and please go ahead.
Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. Thank you, Louise, for really setting the context. For very nice hearing you speak. Very quickly, because this is a vast topic and I answer a lot of speakers, and I don't want to spend too much time talking about very redundant things. In answer to your first question, I actually don't think there is. I think the question is framed slightly incorrectly. I don't think there is a compromise or a trade-off between sustainability and development anymore. I think that idea is long gone. I think more companies are realizing that your business strategy and your business sustainability is very much linked to your ESG governance and how you handle that. So it's not the conventional thing that we had previously, thinking that you to be more environmentally sustainable means you have to sacrifice some form of economic development. I don't think that's the case. More and more forms of renewable energy are becoming cheaper. Water is getting more expensive, so it makes more sense to conserve it. If all we need right now is a collective effort, if not a universal, at least a national carbon price and a water price, then we can start seeing the needle being moved. With respect to the second question that you mentioned, that's a very interesting one, because I was at a conference last year in Lisbon where the keynote speaker actually raised a lot of ruffled a lot of feathers when he said that I see all these industries coming here to these conferences saying about the brilliant work they're doing in sustainability. They're all becoming carbon positive. they all have 100% renewable sourcing, they all have, they don't use plastic anymore, then why hasn't the needle moved at all? I mean, globally, why aren't we seeing any real major impact? Like you said, we are not any closer to get to the 1.5 degree target. And I think that's where we need to understand where the gap really is. And I think what we've realized, the Godrej Group at least, is it's not enough to take ordinary ambitions or ordinary targets anymore. You need to have extraordinary ambitions. Carbon neutrality from my this thing is not something that's an aspiration anymore. It's very much a basic necessity. I don't think companies should advertise that they're carbon neutral anymore. I just think it's something that should be a very very basic requirement for companies to fulfill. Similar goes for water positivity. Now, so I think we have to move the expectations, and the expectations are too low as far as I'm concerned. And the only way this will happen is if there is a collective adoption of certain principles. What really, the real struggle that happens is if, even if you don't punish bad behavior, if you don't reward good behavior, it becomes a problem. Then what generally happens is that if you have, only 2 people behaving well out of, say, a group of 20, then you're not going to really make any long-term effect. So, which is why I think policy and regulation are really, really absolutely critical to the next phase of, if you really, really want to become, ambitiously sustainable, policy and regulation have a bigger role to play than anything else, because technology is there. There are more than enough technologies available now to become energy efficient, to adopt greener forms of energy, to have zero liquid discharge facilities, for example. All technologies are more than readily available. I'll just give you an example of the Godrej. So we had targeted being carbon neutral, water positive by 2020, and we had actually set a pretty conservative target of being at about 30% renewables by 2020. We actually, far exceeded the target, and we'll be at about 70% renewables by 2025. But when people ask us, can you go 100% green energy? I say, I don't know, because quite frankly, I'm at the absolute peak of my ceiling of what I can do as an adopter of green energy from my side. The regulatory environment is such that I'm not able to make that leap from 70 to 100. So I think industries, if you see right now, because it's, like I said, it's not anti-business sense to adopt green technology. I think more businesses have adopted it. They're more than happy to take up or to invest in renewable energy or to invest in alternate packaging. But my point is that if it's only 1 or 2 companies doing it and the regulations don't bring everybody up to that level, it starts becoming a bit of a challenge. Now, just to give you an example, sustainability in India versus sustainability in Europe is a very, very different ballgame. Because the EU regulations, the entire supply chain becomes sustainable because automatically you become preferred suppliers, preferred vendors if you have sustainable practices. Today in Asia, we can't really afford to do that, because if you're not, if you have that sort of a distinction between, say, choosing between a sustainable vendor and a non-sustainable one, there'll always be another buyer who can approach that vendor. There'll always be another vendor who can supply that material. So my point is that unless the playing field becomes level, it is almost impossible for this problem to be solved. So it's no longer a question of individual actions, or or it's no longer a question of companies coming together and say, look what we've done. I think there's a certain minimum requirement that should be there for all companies, and that minimum requirement has to be ambitious. That's the only way you're going to move the needle. Otherwise, all you're going to do is, it's like plugging multiple holes in a sinking boat. Every time you plug one hole, another hole will open up. So it's really not going to solve the problem in that way. And I think one very, very interesting thing that we've noticed in the last few years is that most of the great innovations in sustainability are not coming from the big corporates, but they're coming from smaller startups. They come from farm entrepreneurs. They're coming from rural entrepreneurs who actually have, they are solving real world crises, real world challenges for themselves. For example, in water stressed areas, I've met so many rural entrepreneurs who come up with unique check dam solutions, or building devices that can treat water without using any electricity, using the principle of mechanical resonance. And so these are all technologies that corporate are not coming from the big company; they're coming from the smaller guys. So I think we keep talking about digital India and the age of startup, and globally how it's industry 4.0. But there has to be more synergy between bigger companies, bigger industries, academia, and smaller startups, who really are the people who can drive at certain initiatives. It won't happen the big companies. It'll definitely happen the smaller guys. So, well, but I just like to end my entire answer with just to say that I don't think it should be that cynical. And when you said in the start that, you know, you're a little worried about, or, you know, you don't see much happening on that front, I think there is cause for optimism. I think the more and more, you know, Greta Thunbergs that we have makes this 9 p.m. primetime news conversation, the more lay people get involved in this conversation, the more impact it will have. And you can already see that discussion. I mean, I firmly believe that the generation that's following us is adopting sustainable behaviors at a much early stage in their life. So I am quite positive. But like I said, they are the ones who are doing all the effort. But, you know, we as the previous generation, we as the gatekeepers of industry, we as the regulators, really have to do a lot to match up to their expectations. So I think there is a huge opportunity and a huge challenge there. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ramnath. Those were some very interesting points. I like you said about the new and the startups who are actually leading this this campaign, and the real change is happening at the grassroots level. So that's concerning also, you know, and it is positive also. So, but taking it from there, our next panelist is Mr. Sameer Majliji. He is an environmentalist, educationist, counselor, and he is the founder of Green Saviors Association. He is also engaged in tree plantation, forest making, maintenance, and restoring degraded landscapes every Sunday for over 220 consecutive Sundays since April 2016. He also specializes in dense plantations in urban spaces, including industrial compounds. His emphasis is on native and endemic species, and he's currently engaged in propagating rare endangered species from the Western Ghats region. He is engaged in education also. He's an educator, he's a counselor, and enough said. I would now leave the floor to Mr. Sameer Majliji to please share his views with us.
Thank you, Sugata, and hello, everyone. I would just like to share a few experiences, a few rather primitive thoughts, you may call them, because they come from my own sphere of concern and my own sphere of influence. We started the Green Saviors initiative in April 2016, and it started off because there were no rains in 2015. So somewhere back in school, we had this idea that if there are trees, there is rain. So with that thought, we started off this plantation initiative. And since then, like Sugata said, we have been planting every Sunday for over 220 Sundays. The pandemic definitely put a block to the continuity, but we have been working even through the lockdown, trying to plant trees and or to maintain the trees that we have planted. And one of the biggest struggles that we face is finding spaces for plantation, because everybody wants spaces for construction. Nobody really has space for trees anymore. You know, the trees used to be an integral part of our household compounds, our school compounds. They used to be there besides the roads, and trees almost everywhere. They were part of our upbringing. They aren't part of our upbringing anymore. You just have, tall apartments coming up, pavers and concrete roads, white topped roads, and there's just no space for trees. So the biggest struggle that we face is to find areas for tree plantation. And in this area where I feel industry can be very effective and industry has been very cooperative is something that I would like to say. Now, because we don't get spaces in the city, we were forced to look outside, and that is when industrial compounds came to our rescue. Because in every industry, there is some nice little corner where they would like to have something green. And we were fortunate enough to, meet up with such people who really make us feel very optimistic about what we are doing. Now, initially, we used to plant trees like everybody else does. I mean, two trees apart, and there should be about 15 feet of space between them. These are all the rules and regulations. When human beings come in, we put in our rules and regulations to everything. We sort of segregate everything and say this has to be beside this has to be beside this. Go to a forest and no equation of that sort works. Everything natural is beautiful because it is natural. It really doesn't have the rules and regulations that we as human beings bring in. So that is something that we experienced, and we extended it to our plantation drives, and we started doing denser plantations. And the advantage with denser plantations is the kind that we do. We adopted the Miyawaki method initially, but then we found it to be too cost intensive, and that's why we have sort of modified it to make it more financially friendly to a small organization like ours. But our survival rates have been great. And industrial compounds can definitely spare about 3,000 to 4,000 square feet of area where we plant around 1,000 trees. Now, these trees can act as wonderful carbon sinks. They act as spaces where groundwater can really percolate, and they act as spaces where you can have birds and insects and little animals on industrial compounds. I mean, normally in an industrial compound, with all the machines and all the noise and everything that is there, you don't have birds really coming in. But if you go to the forest that we have planted, they are full of butterflies, they are full of all sorts of insects, caterpillars waiting to be butterflies feed there. We have birds that were earlier not known to that area who started coming and building nests there. So it's a beautiful experience. And I think if even small industries start integrating this into their practices or make it an integral part of their compounds, we could have these little pockets of change within urban areas, which would sort of reverse all the other infrastructural development that is on. Another thing that, I one thing that, because it is industrialization, I mean, how do you define industrialization? We define industrialization maybe as a factory or a manufacturing unit or a service providing unit or something of the sort. But then what about the infrastructure development? That itself is a huge industry. And we talk of industrial responsibility, we talk of local corporations taking responsibility. What about people who are constructing roads? I mean, miles and miles, thousands of miles of roads being constructed with trees being chopped on both sides. I think we really need to have a rethink about how we strategize all this infrastructural development. And somewhere we are tempted to say that it should be a top-down attitude. The government should form a policy. The policy should be implemented. I personally believe, and Green Saviors personally believes, that it needs to start maybe from the bottom to the top, and maybe we can meet in between. Start off as small initiatives which would inspire people in industry, inspire the workers, employees, and the employers. Bring all of them together so that what is needed is a huge amount of consciousness about the fact that we need more than just infrastructure to survive. I think this is where Green Saviors has been fairly successful in bringing about an awareness in a place like Belgaum, especially since we are on the periphery of the Western Ghats, and Western Ghats is a really endangered region right now. So we are happy to be working there in whatever small capacity that we are doing. Yes, we are scaling up. Yes, we are reaching out to industrial compounds. Yes, we are reaching out to people. And I believe that it is small initiatives like these which are important. I think one of the biggest things that industries can do is they can create such small platforms where people can come and work together for conservation per se, for restoration of degraded lands per se. And there are a lot of youngsters who are motivated to undertake all these. I think what the best thing that we can do is provide these platforms to the new generation so that they can become more responsible than we have been. I think that is where the secret to true sustainability, to reversal of climate change lies. I would just like to share a couple of images, if Sugata, if that is okay with you.
Yes, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Okay, so
Can you share screen? You have the share screen in your option in your.
yeah, I will just try to do this. Okay, so are you able to see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so this is at the Belgavi airport. So the airport director invited us to do a plantation. We planted 5,000 trees in about 3 hours. That was about 10 months ago, 9 months ago actually. And this is a plot where we planted trees at a distance of about 3 feet from each other. Now, this is the plot today. This is about in 9 months of growth. So we are pretty happy with the way it is progressing, although we had our own share of challenges. And given our experience with dense plantations, I think the final experience would be something like this in a span of about 2 years. So we could be able to create small pockets of forests of maybe about 1,000 trees, which would shelter birds, do all the good things that trees normally do. And I think it is definitely possible within urban spaces and industrial spaces. I think that is where the secret to uh, doing these activities at a micro level, at a small level in every city lies. I think if we are able to, sort of empower people to, by sharing the methodology, by getting them involved, I think we would be able to make great change, uh, albeit very small. I mean, it might be spread all over. But this is something that we have learned to trust as our method. This is something that we have kept as our commitment. We will occupy every small space that we get, and we will try and put in a forest there, because we need to learn to cohabit this planet with every other species that lives here. So I hope I have been able to put across whatever I wanted to say. It's basically about raising consciousness so that people can be brought together, so that we have urban forests and a whole lot of green that could lead to sustainable lifestyles. Thank you.
Thank you, Madhviji, and I'm so happy to have. It's so encouraging to see these pictures, especially, and you definitely. I mean, you're personally inspiration for me. If not because it's so inspiring to see you planting these trees and giving the earth a new pair of lungs.
Sugata,
So,
can I just add one point?
sure, sure.
A lot of people try to find out how many trees we have planted, and it is almost as if that is a benchmark of how much we have succeeded. But I think, like I said earlier, the fact that we have a team that has been together for 220 Sundays, consecutive Sundays without a break, I think that has been our greatest achievement, because that shows that we have been able to keep people together. I think this is the kind of progress that we need. This is what encourages us to do more.
Absolutely. So it's wonderful to have heard your experience on this, and I'm sure the panelists will also appreciate that. And thank you so much, Majdi ji, for your views.
We are all very happy to note this actually, Sugatya. It's a very wonderful to note this one. I think we really, I know, I noticed this, the people are also are there, here and there, take care of certain things actually. I really is a very enthusiastic. I'm very enthusiastic to join him actually. Sir, give us an opportunity to join you.
Any day, any of our forests, most welcome. I would be the most happy host on this planet.
I made a very important point from you actually. I noted, because everywhere some corners will be there where we could plant actually, but people are only just don't apply their mind. Okay, such a big tree, how it is grow. A lot of barriers comes in between to proceed further. I think this is in a very good, your density of plantation and all is in a very scientifically, I think that must be proved, but really encouraging. You deserve is very good applause here actually.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you, Mr. Ravindra, for your remarks on that. So and I'm sure our next
and
week,
I would like to say, I mean, a big salute to Samirji from my end too.
Thank you, Vibhor.
great. So you're already making a change here, Mr. Valli. So our next speaker for the panel is Mr. Bharat Kapadia. I'm sure even he has some very interesting views on this topic. He is having graduated in economics from University of California, Los Angeles. He is an MBA from IE Business School. He's worked in his family business, Protos Engineering, and he helps European companies enter into the Indian market. And he is also very active in the renewable energy space and is looking to grow in this area. And I'm sure we've got a lot to hear from him. So, Mr. Kapadia, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. I hope I'm audible to everyone. Firstly, well, thank
Yes.
you to Sugata for that wonderful introduction. And it is really heartening to hear from all the speakers because they do share a similar outlook towards sustainability as I do. And I must say, we are a rare breed, but we are definitely a growing breed. And that makes me focus on the aspect that you said, the consciousness towards the environment that we currently have. I have been involved in the renewable sector, especially solar energy and waste management, for just 6 years. But in just 6 short years, I have seen how much the impact that the environment has had, the adverse impact that has been had on the environment, and also the spotlight that is being shone on the damage we as humans are doing to the environment. In the short span of these 6 years, I have also seen that people are becoming more aware of their follies and are now actively looking to remedy the situation. A brief example that I can give is that when I started in say 2013, sustainability for most industries was just a small paragraph saying that we have met the basic compliance that the government has laid on us. But over the last 4 or 5 years, you can actually see that even when something as important as that balance sheet comes to you, the first 2 or 3 pages are dedicated to the work that they have done in the space of sustainability, whether it be planting trees, becoming more energy efficient, restoring water. And it's also heartening to see that corporations like Godrej are now focusing on the environment. And the post of, say, a sustainability office or a chief sustainability officer, which 10 to 15 years ago was not even known, today is a very prominent part of most organizations. When it comes to the consciousness of the general public, I feel that the people need to be made aware of the damage that their daily life sort of takes on the environment. COVID sort of has been a blessing in that sense, because it is the small silver line that you can see is that during the months of April and May, when the world had come to a standstill, everyone noticed that the environment was flourishing. On Facebook, on Twitter, on Snapchat, you could see videos of dolphins entering the bay of the bay by Bombay. You could see there were videos of animals coming out of the forests. The skies were cleaner. People were breathing happy. So basically, that shows that even if we allow Mother Nature just 2 months to relax, we can undo 100 years of abuse to her. And there was a very good article that I read that's saying that if the policymakers and industry at large gives even a tenth of the initiative that it showed towards fighting COVID to fighting environmental damage, the earth will thank us multiple fold. Now, putting these things into context, every day people sort of read that the earth is suffering, that you see the average temperature of the earth is going to go up by 2 degrees Celsius, or a glacier is melting in Antarctica, or penguins are going extinct because of certain environmental issues. The thing is that these things don't affect our daily lives. So people are not necessarily looking to change that right now. When you read an article that says the glaciers, for example, in Iceland will melt 100 years from now, people say, oh, that is 100 years from now, I shouldn't be worrying about it now. But the thing is, if we don't do anything about it now, you cannot change it then. And we are at a very interesting point. I sorry to narrow this down just to the Indian context, is we are now slated to grow as an economy and become the second or even the first largest economy in the world. The problem we face right now is how do we grow in a sustainable manner? The US, Western Europe, and even China in the 90s, when they grew, they polluted a lot. And now that they have grown and reached a certain scale, it is easy for them to bring back these polluting measures and tell the rest of the world, let's be sustainable. But when countries like India are now at the beginning of their growth journey, they're looking at stuff like that was mentioned, building roads, building hospitals, building buildings, building cities. These things are involving the iron and steel industry and the cement industry, which are some of the most polluting industries that you find in the world. The challenge for us today is how do we continue this growth without affecting the environment? Unfortunately for us, we have to grow. We cannot stay the way we are for the next 100 years. At the same time, we do not have the luxury of now damaging the earth more than we can. And India is going to be an example for the rest of the world, because post-India, all of Southeast Asia, Central Asia, South America, Mexico, Africa, all these countries are also going to follow the growth model that India sets out. So we have to sort of be the example for the rest of the world, take advice from people in America, in Europe who have undergone this process, and do so in the greenest manner possible. If not, the damage that is done to the earth will be irreversible. And as the old saying goes, that this is the only planet that we have, unless Elon Musk does something about it. But for the foreseeable future, this is all we have, and this is all we have to preserve. So at the end of the day, if we humans do not preserve the planet and do our part, we are going to have nowhere else to go. And sadly, the consequences of our actions are already coming down to sort of affect us adversely. You see the hurricanes are becoming more intense. You see forest fires across the US, in Australia. You see erratic monsoons in India. So the reality is now starting to hit us. Whereas say 10 to 20 years ago, these things weren't affecting us as badly. Now, as we see these changes coming into our daily lives, we can actually see the effect we are having on the world. And that's why I think people are becoming more conscious. And to sort of go back to what I said at the beginning is that we are a small tribe, but the tribe is definitely growing. And it is conferences like these which will hopefully, spark the imagination of others to do their bit towards saving the environment. And before I close out, I'd just like to echo something that Mr. Ram had said, that in today's day, everyone is chasing the next startup, the next billion-dollar idea, which is something in tech, in something in making the next app. But what we should actually be focusing on is your small local entrepreneur who is doing his part to improve the environment. Technology such as the water wheel, such as windmills, such as using manure as fuel, have been part of our culture for the last 100, 200 years. And these are actually environmentally friendly practices that we are now going back to. So if we can promote, young local talent, we have it in our country, whether it be in our IITs, whether it be in engineering colleges, or even in our villages, and we can have, forward-thinking organizations such as the Godrej, such as the Tatas, who are willing to take a chance on these ideas. I think we will be able to hit that sustainable growth target that we are most definitely required to hit. So with that, Sugata, I'll hand it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kapadia. Those were some very important. I think a lot of what you said really resonated with me also personally. Especially, I don't know if any of you have read this book called The Uninhabitable Earth by David Wallace Wells. It is a book which, I think if you read it and if you are not depressed by the end of it, it's hard to believe that, you've read it correctly. So it's an eye-opening book, and what I think the very important thing what you said also is that the awareness of environment and climate change. I think the reason why we are not picking up on this is there are two things. One is that there's lack of awareness, there's lack of education, because I think a lot of scientific environmental change is very scientific, so the scientific knowledge is missing, and the other half who have the scientific knowledge are ignorant. So I think there are two things which are major concern. And I think if the awareness increases and if people are better educated, I think it can definitely lead to better change. But it definitely resonated what you said about the problems that we are facing, and also for budding entrepreneurs, for budding for new to encourage new people in the space to develop sustainable technologies, to develop renewable sources. I think it's invaluable. So thank you for your thoughts, and I think we are really delighted to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
Sugata, if I may interrupt.
Yeah, sorry.
If the uninhabitable earth can get you depressed, the hidden life of trees can really make you feel magical and very positive about things. So
absolutely agree. Absolutely agree.
That's a perfect counter for that book.
No, I must say, I must just, sorry to interrupt, I must say that Sameerji is quite the beacon of positivity in this otherwise grim, conversation we're having. So it's good to know that there are people out there fighting and doing their bit in whatever way they can, and are contested. More power to you, and we hope that, this sort of conversation will inspire people to join you in the great work you are doing.
Thank you, Bharatji, but do go through the hidden life of trees. You will feel that magic.
Definitely, we'll do so.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, definitely. I'll also definitely, read that. So anyways, moving on, we'll thank you, Mr. Kapadia, again for your views. I think they were invaluable to the discussion. Our next speaker is Mr. Idris Tabassum. He is the Vice Chancellor Academic of Taj University in Afghanistan. He has been an academician since 2013. He was a master trainer at GIZ Organization for Rule of Law Project. He has worked as a university lecturer, as the university VC, Professors Director and ESL teacher at English Language Institutes. 3 of his academic researches have also been published in national and international journals, and he also has 1 book and 2 articles to his credit. So it will be wonderful to hear from you, Mr. Idris Tabassum. A very warm welcome from the Global Industry Dialogues, and please go ahead.
Well, thank you very much. A big hello and hi. My really thanks to all of the panelists, to the dear speakers, and my thanks to the dais for the initiative right now we're witnessing. Bringing different perspectives around the world, I think, is not a simple job. Creating opportunities to bring sounds that really work for a change in the world and in the countries is not a simple job that you're doing right now. So a big thanks for the dais for this initiative. Well, as maybe it's clear for the dear speakers and panelists that the world is facing with a challenge. The challenge is that how to live, how to keep the world, how to keep the earth safe from devastating, from melting, from going towards the miserable and from annihilating from the straight ways that we see these days around the world. The dialogues are on how to save the humanity, how to save the planet, how to save the humans around the world in the countries, mostly in the third world countries that people claim of their poverty for not having security of food, for not having security to live in a nice atmosphere with the sound energy of the sun, with the sound environment covered themselves. So let me first of all have a definition of what climate change is. Scientists believe that climate change is a long-term change in the average weather patterns that have come to define Earth's local, regional, and climates. These changes have a broad range of observed effects that are synonymous with the term, actually. Imagine the scene. The year, for example, is 2027. China is responsible for 15% of the world's energy consumption. California has imposed permanent water rationing. Relief agencies warn the late rains again and again that rises the specter of widespread hunger in Southern Africa. And cases of malaria are being reported among holiday makers in Greece and Turkey. So this is impossible to predict exactly what the future holds, but given the current knowledge of climate science, this picture is certainly not unrealistic. If it becomes a reality, so really it will significantly affect what doing good business is going to entail in 20 years. As a diverse set of drivers begins to act more forcefully on the political and economic landscape, radically altering the world in which we live and work, there's no doubt that the effects of climate change will become harder and will threat different lives around the world. suppose the sprays that people are using themselves individually, the perfumes they are using individually, the fumes and the smokes that that emits around the world, or that penetrates around the world, is threatening the world, which brings which maybe is a threat in the ozone layer of the earth. So the policymakers should do something for this threat in order to save the land, in order to save the creature, the life creature in the ground. We have heard that the organizations, the companies that really start their works never, some of them, never think about their future sustainability, never think about what they produce, how should they produce, and how to guarantee the lives of the people living around themselves. So without any preface, with no premeditated plans, they suddenly start their works, and in the near future they bring lots of losses around themselves. They threat lives of humans. So many people die because of the smokes. In Afghanistan, the media nowadays broadcast some pictures that they say gradually death. So mostly in Kabul of Afghanistan, the Kabul province of Afghanistan, people really suffer of the smokes of the companies and the organizations around Kabul city, but inside the families, inside the residential houses. So this needs a really long-term policy in order to change the idea of the people who really inaugurate, or they really they open these factories, the companies, and the organizations. So we need to work on the awareness of the people. We need to give hands with each other and collaborate, as we heard from one of the panelists here that said this is a campaign around the world. This is not solved with a person who starts individually. We should work collectively. We should collaborate. The governments should stand for that. The nations should stand for that. The United Nations should work for it in order to save the planet, in order to save the lives of thousands of people, the poor people, especially they do not access to the secure food, to the they cannot access to pure water, safe water. That's why we should work for them. So the United Nations is leading a political effort to stabilize greenhouse gas emissions. China emits more CO2 than any other country. It's followed by the US and the European Union member states, although emissions per person are much greater than before. I said that every individual should think of planting a sapling in front of their houses, for example. So how would they do that? They need for more awareness. The oxygen that a tree can give for the people. I mean, what the benefits of a tree, of a sapling, the greenery, the green, for example, the greennesses around themselves is. So we have to work and make people sure of saving their homeland, their environment. So how will climate change affect us? So definitely I can say that there is uncertainty about how great the impact of changing climate is or will be. But I could say that the climate change could cause freshwater shortage, that we have faced this challenge in most of the third world country like Afghanistan. The shortage of water dramatically after our, it will alter our ability to produce food, especially secure food, and increases the number of deaths from floods, storms, and heat waves. This is because climate change is expected to increase the frequency of extreme weather events. Though linking any single event to global warming is complicated, but we have to make sure the policymakers do something. Like Afghanistan is a country that has enacted laws related to climate changes, environment, deforestations, how to use sprays, or even the laws that bans producing sprays and perfumes. We have laws that says producing sprays and perfumes and importing such things that really hurts the ozone layer of the sun is banned in Afghanistan. That's why the policymakers should really focus on this. Public awareness is also another way in order to reduce using sprays. Decreasing smoke, fumes, emissions are things that should be proclaiming around the countries. Strengthening agriculture of a country, focusing on the agricultural aspects of a country is another maybe solution for this problem. Paying attention on how to keep the water safe, the water dams safe, how to save the jungles and forests, and how to prevent deforestations that we have experienced from some of the people that really cut the trees of the forests. So these are, I think, maybe the ways that can bring some changes. We have heard that the more industrial nations we have, the more threats our lands and our earth will face, because we see the industrializations have brought some difficulties to our earth, to our globe, with the energies they use, with the for example, with the products they do, with the raw materials they use. So this will not only hurt themselves, this will damage the whole people of a country. This will hurt the creators of a country, the life creators of a country, even the planets, the plants will also ruin in the country or vanish in the country. Sometimes this will also be very bad, with bad consequences to a country. So I think in order to make a different world for our new generation, I, as an academician, really I'm really worried about my next generation after 20 years, after 30 years. Suppose how would the situation of the world be? The world globalization, the global warming today. This is a concern that how long will this last? How long we will be suffering, not living in such an atmosphere of trust between the organizations, between the companies, that they should be environmentally friendly, eco-friendly, environmentally conscious. These are the I think the terms that every citizens, mostly the organizations and the companies that inaugurate, they should think, and they have to focus on how to work for their state. And one thing very important, that in Kabul, Afghanistan, and most of the provinces in Afghanistan here, they still, I think that they need more awareness through the media, through the congregations, and through the gatherings, directly face to face. We should make sure the families that one day this will create a huge catastrophe around the world. So later on, if there would be some more questions, then I can also be in the service of the speakers. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Idris ji. Those were some very important thoughts. And talking about, I think, effects of climate change, I mean, I think they are innumerable, right? I mean, the forest, the wildfires are going to increase by 600%. The 2/3 of the cities are going to drown. Equatorial regions won't be inhabitable anymore. I think the list goes on and on. So I think let's try and I think it's very important. But the points that you brought, especially about the law and policies in Afghanistan, about the perfumes, the sprays, and how we, as members in the other countries, can learn from these examples that are set, and we can also adopt and maybe perhaps have the members of the global industries should have their views on law and policy also, so that we can learn from each other. Like what you said about the policies in Afghanistan, maybe we can learn from that. So thank you so much for your address, and it was very insightful. I can see Keshav, and we have some very interesting thoughts in the chat box, but we'll reserve that for the last 10 minutes for when we open the floor for the audience. Moving on, our next speaker is Mr. Ravindra. He is a lawyer by qualification. He's the head legal at Gokaldas Exports Limited, which is a world famous, it's a listed company in India. It's the largest exporter of apparel throughout the world. It exports to some of the major brands. Previously, he has also been the head of compliance in GATI Limited and other companies in India, where he's been taking care of compliances and also all statutory regulations. So, Mr. Ravindra, please go ahead.
Thank you, Sugatya. Thank you, and providing me this dais to express, because I thought of you expressed a lot actually, but I restrict myself. Okay, okay. So thank you, Sugatya. And today what I thought to express a lot of law which is very relevant to this environment policies and the water policies and the pollution policies and a lot of things. Definitely, I think we should have one more dais to speak only the legality of these things. But definitely, I could made a lot of points. I connected to the Miss Louise, and she says because I need to give a lot of awareness among the celebrities, because she's from the fashion industry. I am from the manufacturing industry of that contribute to the fashion industry. Okay, so when she expressed a lot of awareness about the environment to the the celebrities, my compliances burden goes up actually. Really, I'm very honestly I'm speaking here, but these all very in connected. Okay, certain operations from the one speaker and sudden relaxations from the Mr. Samir. Oh, people are there to take our environment in a such a manner. They are making us conscious about the way we are going wrongly. People are there, happy to note all those things actually. And here on Dayas, really the people are having very deep knowledge and highly conscious about the the compliances and on the part. I think let us not go into the deep of the laws and all those things, but I have a few views actually. Definitely the most of the industries, they're trying their level best to comply the the statutories of local or the global compliances. But however, there is a lot of challenges while complying those things. In the recent time, I think this pandemic, how the people they are taken as a positively, negatively, but as a industry, I'm a advisor in a compliances, we took it very, very, very consciously. During the situation, I think everybody must be aware that there is a gas leakage in Vishakhapatnam. Okay, the simple incident for the non-maintenance of the gas plant in the, I don't want to take the name, but that has given a very conscious to the all the industry people actually. So though there is during the pandemic situation, and everybody and they started and looking at their compliances, because during that time certain things are neglected because people are not going to the industries and all those things. That time, that incident given as a big conscience. Then even as an industry, even Gokulas also, immediately we are alerted, and we have started, and we are, which are the like a boilers and the water treatment plants and all those things, with a special permission we had started doing the things actually. I could see a lot of positive such a situations, but it is not for the any of the compliances for the laws which we have a in every country. I think definitely must be having the National Green Tribunal laws, and air preventing and pollution control laws, and water preventing control laws, and Environment Protections Act, and there is a Hazardous Waste Management Acts. Many acts are there. Okay, but still, as in the beginning I said, every industry need to take as a behavior rather than comply the one compliances as implemented in the government of any country's government actually. Because these compliances definitely contribute to the your environment. Okay, and it's definitely works the eco balances of it's a contribution from the this. Unless until you are make your house clean, definitely you cannot contribute anything to the universe and the nature. With that concept we need to move. Okay, so moreover I have a one point here in behavior of the industry, how they are working in generally, and everybody towards to the satisfy the one government authority. Yes, I am trying to comply this one. Okay, instead of that one, government also need to check the compliance status of that company. Okay, I'm speaking where all the laws which we are we are trying to implement, certain things goes well, certain things goes and a non-compliances, but this should be interconnected. For example, we have a CSR act. Okay, and every company they need to spend certain amount in a CSR activities, where we have many things like you are spent towards to the society, you are spent towards to the society and employees, education policies. There is one more point also there, environment policy, where the CSR amount has to go to the particular area, environment, protection of environment. You spend, and rather complying the CSR point, voluntarily contribute more to that point, and take the sustainability of the in this situation, so that your industry will be intact and you are able to comply the good, and you may be directly, indirectly you are contributing the more to the environment policies of this one. So every industry they need to take, orally my conclusion is they need to take as a individual contribution, rather they are going to contribute and comply the one statutory year actually. Okay, so this supposed to be our behavior, and the industry is, all the industries in India definitely they are going to do it. Somewhere made the point that I think all the startup companies are doing well actually, whether the startup companies or the the established organizations. Definitely we need to more conscious, so incube your product, your industry, for the future. Okay, these are my small view on this. Okay, and can Sugaitya, you can take it further on this.
Thank you, Mr. Ravindra. Very interesting point about CSR. And I see a comment from Mr. Ram also regarding the CSR Godrej has been involved in. And Mr. Ram, would you like to say something on that?
Yeah, so I think that it's a very, very good point that he had made, and it resonated with me because we actually earmark quite a bit of our CSR funds for green CSR projects. I already mentioned Watershed in the chat window, where we did watershed projects in about 5 different states in India, and these have multiple benefits. Of course, the groundwater recharge has been tremendous, and it has helped the farmers in these areas to increase their crop coverage area. They were able to grow more crops. They were able to get into horticultural crops right now. The livelihood. I'll just give you an example of just outskirts of Bangalore. There's a place called Magadi where I went in January to meet the implementation partners plus the farmers. The average livelihood has gone up from 150 rupees a day to about 40,000 rupees a month, which is a tremendous increase, and not only that, we are using this to also sequester carbon by converting it into green, degraded land into green spaces. So it's a multifaceted, just a simple project can really, really make so many positive impacts. Secondly, we're also doing a lot of CSR projects in the waste management space, where we've tied up with the implementing partners in Pondicherry and Konark to one is development of physical infrastructure to manage and process the waste. The other is also awareness building and behavioral change, which is often the toughest thing to do. Behavioral change in people about how to segregate and efficiently dispose of their waste. And that is no good if you don't provide them the infrastructure for which the waste can be taken and treated. So we've created that entire ecosystem over there. And I must tell you that with wherever the local government and the councillor and the self-help groups and the women of the community who are leading the efforts there, wherever everybody's aligned, we have seen remarkable results. We're talking about in the space of 4 months, you have been able to affect behavioral change, which generally takes years. So, and that's why it's really important. Your things like your social return on interest and making sure CSR should not be thought of as a sink. It's not something you just sign a check and forget about it. That's meaningless. So I wish more and more companies would actually, partner with their CSR implementation rather than just hand the money to them to do projects. Exactly. It really makes a big difference when companies get involved.
Yeah, in fact, that's very interesting because even in our earlier dialogues on education, we had Neha from Tech Mahindra Foundation who also was with us, and she also very interestingly she said the same thing about CSR, and that's very encouraging because she said that now for industry CSR is not just about writing a check for the grant and just forgetting about it. They want to do something more. It is more about implementing the CSR in the right way, and I think that's something that's very important, and I'm really happy to hear this from you also today. So, Mr. Ram. So having said that,
sorry, I'd just like to jump in on one follow-up, if you don't mind. I mean, I agree with what Mr. Ram has said, both his points, that corporates have to not consider CSR as just a check that I have written and that gives me my tax deduction, which I can put on my balance sheet, etc. But the ground reality, unfortunately, is that for many a corporate, I'm not taking any names or pointing at any industry in particular, for them becoming sustainable is still a Excel sheet calculation. Because you will sit with your engineer, you will sit with your ground team, your general managers, and I've done this because I'm in the solar business. You will speak with them for months and months and months. Eventually, you land up at the table of the CFO, whose only mandate is to make sure that everything has a net return and is NPV positive. So once he sees that this entire effort does not necessarily give him the IRR that's given, he says, okay, we are not interested in this. So we have to change this attitude in corporates that not everything you do is for your own balance sheet. It is for the environment that you are working in, for the environment at large. And secondly, the point that everyone sort of now thinks is that waste is something that you throw away. It's in your trash can. Once it's in your trash can and the person has picked it up, it is no longer your problem. Waste is actually what is causing majority of your health crises across the world, because this waste goes to dumps where it is not treated. Your diseases like malaria, filaria, cholera, hepatitis, all are emanating from these things. And I think as someone who is now also working in the waste sector, it is waste should be handled as a resource, as an asset, and not something that you just throw away, but you can actually convert into various, things. The people, you read articles about people converting plastic into roads, plastic into benches, you burning their waste to create energy. So there are various options rather than just throwing it away and thinking about waste as something that is unwanted. So I think these attitudinal change will have to be brought in, and I see these changes sort of coming in the future. And hopefully, people like from the Godrej Group or other pioneering houses will take these efforts further and educate and lead by example, not only within the corporate sector, but also that has a trickle down effect on their employees as well, who can also further take this to their homes and work on it, and like you said, make a community change rather than just giving us a one-day headline. That's what I have to say.
Yeah, I think Mr. Bharat has made a point here. Definitely, a lot of changes we can get in a corporate style of working, in contributing the environment towards and spending their more amount funded towards to that. But even the government policy makers also, they have a very vital role here, because nowadays we can see that a lot of funding towards to the company to encourage and sustain their business patterns actually. So they need to fund and encourage the companies where this compliance part rating is very high. That should be the one of the point while granting the loans or the the budgets to the that kind of sectors. For example, if my compliances part is in towards to the environment policies and all those things, my CSR amount is more, okay, so my budget, my credit worthiness should increase in those the points. I think the policy makers need to see is a very, very stringent, they're very interested in making a lot of books on the policies, but whereas implementation and resulting of that implementations and consequences on the that in implementation and providing the grants and the warrants to everything should be such a results, actually end results of the particular industry. Then only I think automatically behavior changes, compliances changes, and everything goes. That is one of my recommendation when I need to give it in a policy, who's make the policy, the makers. That is, and specifically they can also give a grant the stars on the company on the different aspects. For example, nowadays I think social media, you can see that how, suppose if I purchase the laptop, how good the laptop is, a 5 stars or 4 star or whatever it may be, okay, that kind of the environment is there from the customers. But similarly from government side, this kind of environment they need to create on the compliances part, so that based on that rating and the remaining need to work towards to the industry. I think this is one of the stringent the way of the point government need to look into it. Over to Sugatya.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ravindra. I think Louise wanted to say something. Louise, will want to join quickly?
Yeah, I think it's so interesting what you're saying here, and I think that, and this is something that we are working really hard on, and we see that because of the climate solutions and what's happening, we don't really have time for a slow change. And in the end of the day, with what we're seeing, and I've been on a lot of meetings with huge corporations, and they say that they want to change, and they start a program within the company. I'm not going to say any names, but large corporations. And then in the end of the day, it doesn't work out because the finances, it doesn't benefit them financially. So what we're doing, and what I think we have to do right now, is that we need to go more aggressive. We need to use social media. And I think even if you're a small company or if you're a huge company, I think it doesn't matter. You can just take your phone, use your social media, because it's just a lack of time of someone is gonna find it, and then it spread. You have no idea. And it's so easy to use all the platforms that we have today. And we need to force the corporations, because they don't think longer than outside the door of their office. They go home at 5. They don't think the decisions they're taking here in Scandinavia affects other countries and other people, and affects the whole world. They do try but it's not enough, and the speed are not there that we need. And also when it comes to governments, the speed are not there. And that's why it's the huge importance of using social media. We need to be better on that. And no matter of the scale of the company or the corporation or the organization you're having. And also, I will say that, you know, it's not easy for all the people, you know, it's easy for me to say use social media, but what you can do is that if you don't have the knowledge about how to use social media, ask a neighbor, ask your daughter, or ask whoever, because they know more than you think. And they can help you with, I mean, maybe your daughter or your son maybe don't have the knowledge of, you know, handling your business, but they do have the knowledge of spreading whatever you want to spread. If there is a problem that you want to solve, or if there's an issue or whatever it is. So I will say that we should really prioritize the youth more than we have done before. And I see that it's coming up more and more, and especially how to use it, and also the whole situation of that we need to force corporations into situations that we need them to do, and also government. And also to just wrap up, what I want to say is that I think that to just oh my God, you know, I can go on and on with this, but the most important thing is that we all work together, and I think that we can really do that through social media, and just spread information.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely agree about social media. It's one of the most powerful tools, and I mean, youth and young people are definitely a resource that we must tap into for this. So yeah, I absolutely agree with you, Louis, and thanks for that thought. Before we go on to our next speaker, I think Mr. Sameer Majliji wanted to say something. Majliji, please go ahead, but please just moderate your time to 1 minute, please.
Yeah, sure. Okay, since Louis spoke about thinking big and going big, I think that's something that I think that's the only thing that we have learned over the past 4 years, is that once we think big, then the resources will come in on their own. So right now, I'm happy to announce to all of you is that we are planning to plant 1 million trees in the Western Ghats region, and the 1 million trees will ensure that the Western Ghats region do not collapse during the incessant or heavy monsoons that have been happening recently of late. So we have the Kerala problem and Kurg problem coming up because literally mountains have collapsed because there are no trees to hold them. So we are taking up this 1 million trees project in the Western Ghats. We don't know how we will do it, but the only thing we know is we're going to do it. And we've given ourselves a 5-year slot. Till now, whenever we have wanted any assistance, it has come our way. And I think it is Mother Nature's way of saying, I'm there with you. I think with this belief, we go ahead, and try and embrace larger dreams. I hate to exit at this point in time because I've got to have another commitment, but
No problem.
it was an honor sharing the space with all of you, and I will definitely stay in touch. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Majliji. Thank you, thank you. Thank you so much, and all the best for this Herculean task that you have decided to take up, and we are all with you on that.
More best happens when we contribute and we'll support him.
Oh, support will come, sir. I think at the end, the support, see, I'll tell you one more thing. At the end, support comes from people who are not expecting anything from it. We have two types of donors. We have two types of donors. One who says, what tax benefit do I get from it? And the second who says, take this is for you, this is for the trees. I think the latter that has made all the difference in the world. And it is the latter that we are focusing. Thank you.
With this, having said it, I wish you keep making the change that you have started, and we all our best wishes are definitely with you on this. So, and thank you so much for coming down and sharing your thoughts. And
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure to host.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Having said this, I think we'll go on to our next speaker. sincere apologies, Vibhor, for this little extended discussion on this topic, but I'm sure you will have much more to add on this. So just a few lines about Vibhor. He's a young entrepreneur in the space of gardening tools, and he's a spiritual person. He's extremely passionate about the environment, and he's been a traveler, and he has some very interesting thoughts to share with us. So Vibhor, please go ahead.
First of all, thank you, Sugyata. And it was a great, knowledgeable kind of a session from everywhere around the world, around India and world, of course. So, am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So, yeah. First of all, I would like to tell you how the climate change thing struck in my mind. So I remember like way back in school times in October, we were asked to wear sweaters, right? And overall lately, like 4 or 5 years back, I was in the same month of October in Delhi. I was feeling very sweaty and everything. I thought, where has the cool wind that used to blow in October has gone? So that's when it struck. And in 2016, I started traveling solo. And when I came, that was the time of August or September, I guess. And when I came back to Delhi, I realized, something has changed a lot in in the bigger cities. And then I started traveling for my work, and then I went. I traveled small cities, small villages, even for some work issues. And I would say they were like very green, very cool, and that's when I realized there's something bad happening around. So that's what I that just clicked it, and that's when I started thinking about it. And off late, then we were just like so much stuck. You're just so much stuck in making your career, and you don't bother sometimes. And lately, when I was just sitting around and just talking to one of my friends 2 years back, she said that one of her friends, her mother used to garden, do the gardening with the help of spoon, and it was very tough for them to use those spoons to do the gardening and everything. And likely it said that everything starts from home. And I would see that my mother is still doing, and she's a big plant lover herself. And then I realized that what I've been doing with the family business that I was in, it's basically related to the fancy exhaust for motorbikes that would just make boom sounds and a lot of exhaust sound and pollution and everything. So that's when I started. That's if I want to do something good for the nature, and after living in the nature's lap in the mountains, I guess I should start something from my end. So that was the World's Environment Day in 2018, when I came up with the idea of starting the gardening tools that would help people to garden, to do the gardening. And as the process started, and off late, every new business, every new startup takes time to click among the people, and people got to know about the things that we're using, the tools that can be used for the cultivation, for the weeders, like weeder is used to cutting on the weeds from your plants, and shovel and trowels and everything. And step by step we started, and currently I'm having like about 17 items now for agriculture now, and for gardening as well. So that's what I learned. And off late, after knowing a lot of people around, India itself, we talk about those who are into gardening and all that, you won't believe, like just like Mr. Kapadia and Ram said about the startups that have been happening. You won't believe I'm working currently with 38 startups who are supporting and promoting gardening. There's just like Western Ghats we were talking about, Mr. Samir was saying about, there's a very small village in Jalgaon. So there's this lady who actually asked me to provide the gardening tool set for the tribal areas over there. So see, what we can do is from our end is what is more important. What the government should do, what the country should do, it's a very big process. So everything starts from your home, like step by step, heart by heart. So I started following, and knowing these people, the tribals and everything, and the good task, good work they are doing. And so I had a word with my father that what should we do about such people? Should we keep the margins? Should we do anything about? So it started with 10 sets in Jalgaon area without keeping any margins. And every month now we are delivering them 100 sets without any margin. It's a kind of a thing that we are doing from my end. And then again, we have a tie-up with one of a very good person. His name is Shaiju. He's in Kerala. And they are developing near Kerala, they're developing a green belt where they have doing. And again, they asked me for the help, whatever I can provide them with. I said, I have these tools, and if it's possible for you guys, I mean, if you can do wonders with that, then I'm happy to help with it. So as a sample set, we set them like 15 sets, and currently every month they're taking about 100, 150 sets. And that's what I can do, and that's what we can help with the nature and all. And the climate change from my end, what I think could help is the green part. How I'd say is that I was in Coorg in November, and you won't believe, I asked a local over there, I feel very fresh over here. I mean, the resort was full of greenery, very good, beautiful green plants. And I asked them, what's the AQI level over here? And he told me the AQI level here is just 4, whereas back in Delhi, it was 400 that time. So what worked there were the plants. So knowing about the knowledge about the plants, nature has every answer, every solution you will find in nature for sure. You have been given pollution, that's man-made. But again, nature helped you by providing you air purifier plants and trees. Why don't you go ahead and do that? Plant them at your home and you'll feel better. As I said, everything starts from home. So after looking at my hobby and my passion as a gardener and all, one of my friends who was one of the notorious friends of hers in the school times, and even now he's married, he started planting, and I was shocked. And he said that, why don't you come along with me to a nursery and help me buy some plants? And currently this guy who had 0 plants 10 days back, like 1 month back rather, he's currently having 50 plants at his home. I myself am having 150 plants at my home. I feel very fresh and green. So that's what we can do. The climate change needs big trees and everything, but we just say, we don't do. By saying such things, at least we can start from our home. And one of our clients in Chennai, he has a very good trend. When we send him the tools or when we do the payment, he certainly takes just 2% of the payment as a green tax that he has named it. What he does is that by saving those 2%, he doesn't benefit for his own company or for his own firm. He provides those 2% to the local people in the tribal areas, and he's been planting trees and small, small plants, which I don't remember the name. These are very green plants which are very helpful for the breathing purpose, for air purifying and all those things. They reassemble them and just keep on growing. And currently he was telling me he has worked over with more than 1,300 people and more than 5,000 trees and all the small plants he has gifted them and all that. It was a very good idea about knowing it all after knowing the gifting the plant thing. So I took it again. I started this initiative from my home. It was my niece's birthday. So I didn't ask what she wants. I just got 2 beautiful flower plants for her, gifted to her. And it's her next birthday coming up. This will be her 5th birthday. She asked me. She didn't ask me for anything. First of all, she was asking me for a dog to gift her. But currently she said that which flower am I going to gift her on her next birthday, which is in October. So see, that's what I have been learning around, and I've been just talking around with people and how these agriculture tools and these gardening tools are helping people, and how I am helping out and how can I help the nature is what my target is. And definitely there are startups, there are people who are actually into, and just like Samir ji is, salute to him, whatever he's been doing is just incredible. Just like him, definitely he's in big numbers, but yeah, I know people who have been doing it. I know it's a small tribe, like Mr. Kapadia said, but yeah, it's growing. And one of my clients, she told me one thing very, 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 in a very funny way, that, sir, that COVID has been a blessing for our business. People sitting at home doing nothing, what they have plants too and all. So I was just talking to one of my cousins who lives in Mall Town, Delhi. He was saying there was only one nursery 2 months back in Mall Town. Now they have five. And this is a very good, I mean, good to hear that people are actually busy doing all these things. And this is what can help the climate change. Everything starting from your home. And by starting with plants, small plants, go with the trees, go with rubbishing all the waste. With all the waste that I mean, just like somebody on the panel just mentioned the waste. I have been making my own the compost that we use for I mean the peels of the bananas and everything. I have been using that. I've been trying it. I have been able to make some of the compost and been using it for my plants. Is a very good fertilizer for your plants. I should tell you. When you peel up your banana, don't throw it. Put that, mix it up, crush it up, do it what, and put it in your plants. It will help you to, to grow your plants and grow your trees around. And then we have different uses of the waste. So I do seva. That's what the serving at our Guruji's temple. So whenever there's a big function, there are a lot of sevadars, the servers serving there. So they provide us with a lot of plastic bottles for the water. So as there are a lot of people, so we are provided with a lot of a small team, like 10 to 15 sevadars and servers who actually do that thing. So within just 10, 15 people working, through day and night, having those water bottles, they spill it. So what I started doing is I started collecting them. I collected around about on every big function. I collected around about 300, 400 plastic bottles that particular day, out of which I used 20 for my plants and 380 remained. I went to one of the guys over there in Paharganj who actually recycle these plastic bottles. He cut them up, he used the fiber, and those fiber sheets were used to make the sheds for your home. So I got to know about this guy, and we have been on a regular touch. So whenever I get these plastic bottles, I don't throw them. I just keep them at my home. And my mother is after it. Why are you collecting them? And she never. I cut them off, make a plant, and say this is for that. When it's large numbers of the plastic bottles, I go to that guy in the Paharganj area. I give it to him. I don't take anything from him or anything at all. He just used them. He just crushes those fiber that comes into a fiber form, and then it's been again used as to make the sheds. So yeah, everything is possible if you have the will. Go ahead. I would like to say, a lot of youth is very attached in this in the agriculture and the gardening thing, and I feel blessed when people are blessing me out with a lot of people not using spoons anymore. In Assam and Guwahati areas, I started a tie-up with one of my friend who had no gardening background, nothing. It's just she loves plants and all. So I asked her, why did you go ahead and start doing this business with me? So currently, it started with one set as a sample. So slowly, gradually, in 10 days, I've sent her another 20 sets. So she's saying it's been helping her friends, her family, and her neighbor, that everything is now becoming easier for them for doing the gardening thing and for planting. So I'm not saying that I'm doing something wonders or something, but yeah, everybody who gets to, that thing in his mind or can do and go ahead further, just go ahead. Nature has the solutions for all the climate changes, for everything. Maybe a COVID was a blessing for the nature itself. Ozone layer been covering up, everything been settled down. It's just we should learn from whatever mess that we have done. We should cover up. We should learn by our mistakes, and just help nature breathe, and just be the part of the beautiful planet that we have been blessed with. One planet, one world. Just enjoy with it, and make it a better place to live. Thank you.
Thank you, Vibhor. Very inspiring words indeed, and it's so encouraging to hear you doing your bit and inspiring everybody to do this. So thank you once again. And with this, I would like to now conclude this panel discussion. I would like to now throw the floor open to the audience for quick questions. So any members of the audience who would like to ask the panelists any questions, please go ahead and type it in the chat box, and I will take it up one by one. I think we don't have any questions at the moment. Keshav, you had something to say?
Yeah, I didn't have a question. I had a set of just like quick remarks or reflections to share.
Yeah.
Um, so in my background of climate, um, or the privilege of, let's say, being in this space, comes from very varied, an exposure comes from very varied places, whether it's working with Fridays for Future in Sweden from an advocacy youth mobilization perspective, or working with the government as an advisor in a Himalayan ecosystem, and then seeing how civil society is responding. Whether it's that perspective, or as a lawyer in my previous life, look at the NGT. So, and now with what I do with the UN office and on several global projects in different nations, I've also worked in Nepal during the earthquake time, so I see some disaster mitigation aspects also of it. I will only share briefly what I feel, because I know that big systems and regulatory comments are, for me, they're not going to help, because some experts have already spoken on the best practices, and I'm so happy to know that they're happening. So I personally feel that in my understanding, there are these two types of different personalities we have. One is like our corporate personality, and one is our human personality. So the human personality takes a break in the same mountains, and loves it. The corporate personality loves to build a resort on it. So it's the same people eventually who are facing the pollution, who are also causing the pollution at the end of it. So I don't know why we are still stuck to the notion of wanting incentives as governments, as people, as individuals, when the only incentive is an existential incentive that we have to, like when we say, let the nature breathe, let's be frank, if we are talking about ourselves breathing. And when we say that there is no planet B, the planet B, planet A is staying, we are not staying in it in the coming time. So I think that at a basic fundamental ethical level, I see that the shift needs to come from an ethical top to bottom perspective also, rather than this continuing the system of incentives, because they may not or may be possible depending on the politics of the area, depending on the funds government has, the leeway they have, development priorities they have. So companies need to stop cutting the forest even if they're offered to. And then other companies can decide to not work with such people who have that record, just like we do it for human rights abuses. Why can't it be for an abuse of environment that companies can be socially boycotted, economically boycotted? And why do we need to rely on a government when the climate action issues will strike? Then government can't save you from a tsunami. Government is not going to save you from soil erosion. Only the local community gets affected. And let's just, like the last thing I will say is that I used to think that I could be the climate savior of the world, till I understood that if the Brazilian rainforests are cut, then no matter what I do in India and how many trees I plant in India, our climate change is a very scientifically, like everyone has said, complex issue. So we need to look at these two things very distinctively. What affects the global ecosystems is a very separate thing. That's the tropical rainforests are the ones, Himalayan ecosystems are the ones. So we need to have absolute red lines, like redder than the red wall that I have, on any economic activity. And Nepal is a stupendous example of that. Bhutan is a stupendous example of having a fragile ecosystem still managed to some extent. Now, secondary, and that is the true climate change issue of the global warming, of the temperature change. So the last thing is that this also has local ecosystem implications, vis-a-vis local, like pollution, local AQI levels, for instance. So these are very important issues which have to be seen scientifically outside our thought systems. And like, I think I will tie it back in every way with Louise, what she had talked about, the importance of science in this climate change issue, that yes, human aspect is very supreme, but yes, businesses are very important. But the only incentive we truly have around this is literally protecting our human legacy. If nothing else, forget about the biodiversity, forget about anything. And I'm not talking about some extinction level things here. I'm talking about basic things like clean air when you're jogging on a regular day. That can have a tremendous impact on your stress, on your profits, on your where your board meetings happen, on your ideation processes, on your resilience, essentially. So I come from a city like Delhi, which has severe pollution most of the year. Last thing with COVID is that COVID in India has given us a shining example of what nature does when humans stop interfering or polluting or actually doing something affirmative from their side. Rivers have not needed a single penny to get cleaned. Our entire Ganges ecosystem has cleaned up from the mountains because tourism-based products were not being waste was not being dumped into it. Factories were not operational. So we have this tremendous thing in our head that climate financing is what is needed. I think we need to stop creating the problem. Instead of letting the problem exist first and then finding solutions to it, we can understand our problem identification at a policy action level itself, where it originates from. And more often than not, it originates from a sense of indifference, a sense of a different way in which people are affected. So a sense of apathy towards how different people are affected. So I feel that if Sugyata, Louise, any human being goes to an area which is devastated because of climate displacement or a community, they will definitely be more conscious. So I think rather than education, it's the sensitization, value building, and experientially understanding the issue itself as an issue of survival, rather than some numbers, balance sheets, like many speakers have said. So I think all of the discussion in a very positive light. And I just personally feel that, yes, it starts from the home, it starts from the self, and it starts from recognizing, just very simply, when you're throwing something as basic as a litter to a policy decision in your organization, or even getting your own printouts. So I think the one thing that you can do is lead through your action. The more top bottom it is, the more it's encouraging for the people in the other hierarchies also to follow in and advocate if the boss is doing it. So that's all I will say. And thank you so much, Sugyata. Let me also thank all the panelists for some really wonderful remarks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Keshav, and definitely the panel discussion has been very insightful. It has brought some very great perspectives before us, and I don't want to hold everyone back here in India for dinner. And Louise also, she's been so kind. I don't want to hold you back further, and it's been a great discussion. Thank you all so much for coming. And just, briefly, I think about climate change, I think it's important that we are all realizing that change has to come, and and we need to make it ourselves. So I think that's going to be my key takeaway from this discussion. So thank you all so much for sharing your views, and thank you to the audience for hearing us all patiently. And I hope this has made a difference for all of us internally more than anything else. So
thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. Really,
thank you.
You're doing an amazing job.
Thank you, Sugyata. Thank you very much for creating the dais for the express ourselves. And I think you can connect us, and I think you can make a group or share our knowledge. And situationally, I think why don't you connect everybody in a group?
So actually, sir, let me just take just the 30 seconds of everyone's time to just tell you what we are doing now after this dialogue, sir. So we have a gender, climate, peace, inclusion, industry, separate dialogue series, as Louise had also mentioned, that is progressing, which concludes on the UN Day, the 24th October. And then, sir, we are moving towards the action phase, where we are trying to get every stakeholder from different, this community that we will have built by 40 international dialogues like these from around the world. And then we are commencing the actions cycle that arises out of it. So that is a stakeholder-driven process, a decentralized process that we just want to get started and monitor and track as an organization, because everyone knows what action to take. They just need the right ecosystem partnership mechanisms to do it. So that's something that I'm so happy that all of you are yourself having a call to action. I'm very happy to also tell you, sir, that that we are also launching a fellowship, which is going to be a global SDG Youth Fellowship, where annually we will have an intake of about 60 young people, and we will divide them up in groups of 4. Every group will take one sustainable development goal each of the 15 that we have identified, and then they will work on the next big idea that they have from any problem. The only criteria is that their beneficiary size has to be 10,000 and above. And that project we are committed to run for 5 project cycles annually. And I'm also very happy to share with you that this project has been already accepted by the UN SDGs mechanism and on their official forum. And I will be happy to send you the details. So maybe you can take the mentorship for 4 of them as per what they want to do as a young people's driven idea every year. And similarly for different goals, because most of these goals are interconnected. Education can't go without gender, can't go without environment, and vice versa. Can't go without food at all. So we have to, I think these are a few things that I can share with you, that all of what we are doing will be adding on in the official statistics of the Sustainable Development Goals achievement. And these dialogues, in fact, are only the beginning of this, let's say, a decade-long attempt for, let's say, recovery and to accelerate the 2030 agenda of the United Nations in terms of the Sustainable Development Goals. So your contribution, your support, everyone's will be very, very vital, not just in supporting it, but also leading the ideas in your industries, because I don't know what's best for waste management. Bharat ji knows what's best for waste management. I know that it's going to be the second largest career and revenue driving opportunity as per World Economic Forum in the next 10 years, besides hospitality in India and in the whole world. So, so just wanted to let you know, sir, that we do have plans exactly as what you're saying, and just want to thank Sugyata that Sugyata, this is the action that we are looking at, that you have created through your reaching out to creating this agenda, curating the entire speakers list for us and managing everything. This is precisely a lawyer stepping out of their lawyer role in a COVID time, getting out, leveraging technology, and then getting such a interesting panel together, like Dr. Idris Tabassum sir was also saying earlier on. So let me just say that you are also that same example of somebody recognizing their strength area and then applying it to the Sustainable Development Goals. So let me also congratulate you. And I think that more lawyers should come out, have such discussions. We would love to have another one led by you and Ravindra ji on the legal compliances for environment, best practices sharing. And let's look at what works. And let's try to continue this process of what works, implement what works, facilitate it. So you're all welcome to the project from mine.
Great. So thank you so much. Happy to help.
Thank you, Keshav.
Anyway, thank you.
And definitely we'll take this over a debrief call with each one of you after this, I'm sure. So thank you once again, everybody, for coming and giving your valuable time to this cause and to us and this discussion. And that's signing off from my side. So thank you.
Yeah, bye everyone. We will have the video on YouTube. We will be sharing the links with you. So if you want to share the dialogue, we've already put the link on the chat window. So you could share that also.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you so much.
Always have a great day ahead.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.